The wind from the rotors didn't just ruin Jessica's $300 blow-dry, it shattered her entire reality. Standing on the roof of the Sterling Media Tower, the entire marketing department watched in stunned silence. They expected a VIP client. They expected a CEO. What they didn't expect was for the door of the sleek, black Sikorsky S-76 to slide open and wait not for the boss, but for the girl who had just emptied the office trash bins. Lily, the mousy intern, who wore the same oversized cardigan for 3 weeks straight, didn't look back at her tormentors. She simply handed her resignation letter to the pilot, stepped onto the leather step, and ascended back into a world they never knew she owned. This isn't just a story about a hidden billionaire. It's about the brutal cost of underestimating a nobody. If you looked at the floor plan of Sterling Media, arguably New York City's most pretentious boutique marketing agency, you wouldn't find a desk assigned to Lily Jenkins. You would find a supply closet on the 14th floor, adjacent to the break room, where a jagged line of duct tape separated boxes of printer paper from a wobbly IKEA desk that smelled faintly of lemon floor cleaner. Lily was the floater, the grunt, the invisible girl. In an office populated by trust fund babies, waiting for their inheritances and aspiring influencers clad in Balenciaga, Lily was an anomaly. She wore oversized, pilly sweaters that looked like they had been rescued from a Goodwill bin in 1998. Her glasses were thick, plastic frames held together at the hinge by a microscopic dab of superglue. She brought her lunch every day, a Tupperware container of sad, gray-looking leftovers, or a cup of instant noodles that she ate quietly while staring at a spreadsheet. "Lily, my latte is dying. Do you want it to die? Because its death is on your hands." The voice cut through the hum of the office like a serrated knife. Jessica Montgomery stood in the center of the open-plan workspace, holding an empty cup like a weapon. Jessica was the office manager, a title she wielded with the tyrannical authority of a feudal warlord. She was beautiful in a sharp, terrified way, perfectly highlighted hair, a wardrobe that cost more than most people's cars, and a deep-seated insecurity that manifested as cruelty. Lily stood up immediately, her chair scraping loudly against the linoleum. "I'm sorry, Jess. The elevator was slow. I have it right here." She hurried over, balancing a tray of coffees. Jessica snatched the cup, took a sip, and grimaced. She didn't spit it out, that would be too dramatic. Instead, she slowly poured the contents into the trash can beside Lily's leg. "It's lukewarm," Jessica said, her voice dropping to a whisper that somehow carried further than a shout. "I asked for extra hot. Oat milk. This is almond. Do you know what almonds do to my skin, Lily? They inflame me." The barista said it was oat," Lily stammered, eyes fixed on her scuffed sneakers. "Well," the barista lied, "and you're incompetent for not tasting it first." Jessica smiled, a tight, predatory expression. "Go back, get another one, and take the stairs. The elevator is for employees who actually generate revenue." A ripple of snickers went through the office. At the corner desk, Liam Archer watched the scene over the rim of his monitor. Liam was the golden boy of Sterling Media lead, copywriter, devastatingly handsome, and the only person who didn't seem to actively enjoy Lily's humiliation. He frowned, his fingers pausing over his keyboard, but he said nothing. In this ecosystem, defending the gazelle only made you the next meal for the lion. Lily nodded, taking the empty cup. "Yes, Jess, right away." She walked out, shoulders hunched. As the heavy glass doors swung shut behind her, the office chatter resumed. "I don't know why Arthur keeps her around," whispered Chloe, a junior account executive who spent 80% of her day scrolling TikTok. "She's like a depressing piece of furniture." "She's cheap," Jessica replied, sitting on the edge of Liam's desk and crossing her legs. "Minimum wage, no benefits. She does the filing, the cleaning, and the coffee runs. If we hired a professional service, it would cost triple. Besides," Jessica lowered her voice, "it's good for morale. Reminds everyone what happens if you don't hit your KPIs." Down in the stairwell, the depressing piece of furniture stopped on the landing between the 10th and 11th floors. Lily Jenkins leaned against the concrete wall and took a deep breath. She reached into the pocket of her oversized cardigan and pulled out a phone. It wasn't the cracked iPhone 8 she used in the office. This was a Virtu Aster P, a device handcrafted from titanium and sapphire crystal, encrypted with military-grade security. She tapped the screen. A single message waiting. Sender. Mother. The board is getting impatient, Serafina. The acquisition needs to be finalized before the Q3 earnings call. Are you done playing house? Lily, or rather, Serafina, sighed. Her thumb hovered over the screen. She typed back, 2 more weeks. The audit isn't complete. There are leaks in the financial reports I can't trace yet. And the culture is worse than we thought. She slid the phone back into her pocket, adjusted her glasses, and continued down the stairs. The air in the stairwell was stale, but it was better than the suffocating perfume of the office. She wasn't just Lily Jenkins, the office gopher. She was Serafina van der Hoven, heiress to the van der Hoven global conglomerate, a holding company that quietly owned significant stakes in everything from lithium mines in Nevada to shipping lanes in the South China Sea. Her father, the legendary industrialist Willem van der Hoven, had always taught her, if you want to know if a ship is seaworthy, you don't ask the captain. You ask the guy shoveling coal in the engine room. Sterling Media was a target for acquisition. On paper, they were profitable, trendy, and growing. But Serafina's father smelled rot. So, Serafina had created Lily. She had rented a studio apartment in Queens with a leaky ceiling, bought a wardrobe from thrift stores, and applied for the lowest position available. She had spent 3 months being invisible. She had been yelled at, mocked, and treated like a servant. But being invisible had its perks. People say things in front of the help that they would never say in front of a board member. She knew that the creative director was skimming budget from video shoots. She knew that Chloe was leaking client pitches to a rival agency in exchange for concert tickets. And she knew that Jessica Montgomery wasn't just mean, she was dangerous. Lily pushed open the door to the street, the humid New York air hitting her face. She needed to buy an oat milk latte. But more importantly, she needed to figure out why the numbers in the Sterling accounts didn't match the client rosters she saw on Jessica's desk. She walked toward the coffee shop, head down, unaware that high above, from the 14th floor window, Liam Archer was watching her leave. He wasn't looking at her with pity anymore. He was looking at her with suspicion. He had noticed something yesterday. When Lily had tripped over a cable, she had sworn, not in English, not in Spanish. She had let out a sharp, perfect curse in French Creole. Liam had spent 2 years in street barts, working on a novel that never got published. He knew the dialect. It was specific. It was aristocratic. It wasn't something a girl from a trailer park in Ohio, which is what Lily's resume claimed should know. Liam picked up his phone and dialed a number that wasn't saved in his contacts. "It's me," he said quietly. "Run a background check again." Lily Jenkins, deeper this time. "Check international travel records. Something doesn't fit." The tension in the office 3 days later was palpable. Arthur Sterling, the CEO, was pacing the boardroom. Arthur was a man who had modeled his entire persona on the Wolf of Wall Street, but lacked the actual financial acumen. He was sweating through his bespoke suit. "We need the Packard account," Arthur barked, slamming his hand on the mahogany table. "If we don't land Packard Luxury Automotive, we miss our quarterly projection by 40%. Do you know what happens then? The bank calls the loan." Lily was in the corner of the boardroom, silently wiping down the whiteboard from the previous meeting. Nobody acknowledged her presence. To them, she was just the Roomba with a heartbeat. "Jessica," Arthur spun around. "Where are we with the pitch deck?" "It's being finalized, Arthur," Jessica soothed, though her eyes were darting nervously. "Liam is polishing the copy." "It's not the copy I'm worried about," Arthur snapped. "It's the ethos. Packard is old money. They don't want TikTok dances. They want legacy. They want stealth wealth. They want to know we understand what it feels like to spend 50 grand on a watch you don't even wear." He looked around the room at his team of 20-somethings in trendy streetwear. Does anyone here even know what the interior of a Gulfstream G650 smells like? Silence. New car smell? Chloe ventured. Arthur groaned, burying his face in his hands. In the corner, Lily paused. She knew exactly what it smelled like. It smelled of bergamot, cured leather, and the specific ozone crispness of recycled air at 45,000 feet. She bit her lip. She had to stay quiet, but the incompetence was physically painful. Later that afternoon, the crisis deepened. A courier arrived with a package for Jessica. It was a peace offering from a vendor, a bright orange Hermes Birkin bag. Jessica squealed, the sound piercing the afternoon slump. She paraded the bag through the office, placing it on her desk like a religious artifact. Look at this, she preened, stroking the leather. Togo leather, gold hardware. The wait list for this is 3 years. This is power, people. The office gathered around, oohing and ahhing. Lily walked by with a stack of mail. She glanced at the bag. She didn't mean to stop, but the stitching caught her eye. She paused. What are you looking at, Lily? Jessica sneered. Don't stand too close. You look like you have static electricity. You'll ruin the finish. It's a lovely color, Lily said softly. It's orange H, Jessica corrected. The signature color. Not that you'd know. Actually, Lily said, the words slipping out before she could stop them. Hermes uses a beeswax-coated linen thread for their stitching. It creates a very specific slant. It's called piqûre cellier. The stitching on this, it's straight, and the stamp on the hardware, the font kerning on the P, is off by a millimeter. The room went dead silent. Jessica's face turned a violent shade of red. Excuse me? Lily's heart hammered against her ribs. She had slipped. I just read about it in a magazine. In the dentist's waiting room. I'm probably wrong. You are wrong, Jessica hissed. This is authentic. It came from a verified vendor. I'm sure it is. Lily backed away, clutching the mail to her chest. I'm sorry. She scurried back to her supply closet, her pulse racing. That was reckless. She knew the bag was fake because her grandmother, the matriarch of the Van der Hoeven dynasty, had a collection of vintage Birkins insured for $12 million. Lily had learned to spot a counterfeit when she was 6 years old. Back in the main area, the mood had shifted. Jessica was furiously typing on her computer, looking up authentication guides, her face a mask of panic. Liam leaned back in his chair, watching the supply closet door. He had heard the whole thing. He knew about piqûre cellier stitching, not because he owned one, but because he was a detail-oriented freak, and Lily was right. He stood up and walked over to the supply closet. He didn't knock, he just leaned in the doorway. Lily jumped, nearly dropping a box of pens. Liam, do you need something copied? Liam looked at her, really looked at her. He took in the frayed sweater, the cheap glasses. Then he looked at her shoes. They were scuffed, generic white sneakers, but he noticed the way she tied her laces. A specific knot, the Ian knot. It was the fastest way to tie a shoelace, often used by professional athletes, or people who grew up in equestrian academies. You know a lot about French luxury goods for someone who lives in a walk-up in Queens, Liam said, his voice low. Lily forced a laugh. It sounded brittle. I watch a lot of YouTube, unboxing videos. It's my escape. Right? YouTube. Liam stepped into the closet, closing the door slightly behind him. The space was tiny. He smelled like expensive cologne and coffee. And the French Creole cursing the other day? Was that YouTube too? Lily went cold. She looked up at him, her eyes behind the thick lenses, suddenly sharp, intelligent, and devoid of the fear she usually projected. What do you want, Liam? The mask slipped. Just for a second, the terrified mouse was gone, replaced by someone with posture, with steel. Liam smiled, but it wasn't a friendly smile. It was the smile of a hunter who just found tracks. I'm just trying to figure out the puzzle, Lily, because I don't buy the story. And honestly, I don't care if you're a spy for a rival agency. I don't care if you're on the run from the law. He leaned closer, lowering his voice to a whisper. But Jessica is looking for a reason to fire you. And after that little stunt with the bag, she's going to come for you hard. If you have secrets, keep them better, because she fights dirty. Why are you telling me this? Lily asked. Because Liam's eyes drifted to the papers on her desk, financial spreadsheets that she shouldn't have had access to. I think you and I might be looking for the same thing. Lily didn't answer. She waited for him to leave. When he was gone, she exhaled, her hands trembling. Liam was sharper than she thought. She needed to be more careful. But she didn't have much time for caution. The Packard pitch was in 2 days, and she had just discovered something in the financial records that made the fake Birkin bag look like a misdemeanor. Arthur Sterling wasn't just incompetent. He was embezzling. He was funneling client retainers into a shell company in the Cayman Islands. If the Van der Hoeven Group bought Sterling Media now, they would be buying a crime scene. She needed proof. Hard proof. And that meant she had to break into Arthur's office. But before she could formulate a plan, the door to her closet flew open. Jessica stood there, and this time, she wasn't holding a coffee cup. She was holding a security report. "Security breach," Jessica said, her voice dripping with venomous delight. "Someone accessed the sensitive client server last night at 2 a.m. using a guest login. We traced the IP address, Lily." Lily frowned. "I was home at 2 a.m. Really? Because the IP traces back to the free Wi-Fi at the coffee shop across the street, the one you spend every lunch break at." Jessica smirked. "Arthur wants to see you. Pack your box, sweetheart. The game is up." It was a setup, a clumsy, obvious setup. But as Lily walked out of the closet, flanked by Jessica, she saw the entire office watching. They looked at her with a mix of pity and glad it's not me. She looked at Liam. He was staring at his screen, refusing to meet her eyes. "Fine," Lily thought. "You want to play games? Let's play." She didn't know that the biggest twist wasn't her firing. It was the invitation that was about to land on Arthur's desk. An invitation that would force Lily to choose between her cover and her dignity. The annual Titans of Industry Gala was this Saturday. Hosted at the Pierre Hotel, the guest of honor, Willem van der Hoeven, and every employee of Sterling Media was required to attend as support staff to network for the Packard account. Lily Jenkins was about to serve hors d'oeuvres to her own father. Arthur Sterling's office was designed to intimidate. It was a glass box suspended over the city, filled with mid-century modern furniture that looked uncomfortable and art that cost more than a suburban house. Arthur sat behind his desk, his face a sheen of stress sweat, while Jessica stood beside him like a sleek, venomous guard dog. "Well?" Arthur demanded, tossing the security report onto the glass surface. It slid across and stopped inches from Lily's frayed sweater. "Explain yourself. Jessica says you're selling us out. Are you corporate espionage? Is that it? Are you working for Ogilvy?" Lily looked at the report. She didn't pick it up. She didn't need to. She knew exactly who had logged in at 2 a.m. It was Chloe, the junior executive, who was likely uploading client files to her personal Dropbox to use as a portfolio for a job interview she had next week. Lily knew this because she had seen the Dropbox notification on Chloe's screen while emptying her trash bin. But Lily couldn't say that. If she revealed she was watching screens, she revealed she was observant, and observant people were dangerous. "Mr. Sterling," Lily said, her voice trembling just enough to sell the performance. "I don't own a computer at home. My phone is an iPhone 8 with a cracked screen. It can barely load Instagram, let alone access the secure server." She pulled out the decoy phone from her pocket and held it up. The screen was indeed shattered, a spiderweb of glass held together by tape. Arthur looked at the phone with genuine disgust. "God, put that away. It's depressing." "The IP address is from the coffee shop," Jessica interjected, her eyes narrowing. "She sits there every day. So do 300 other people, Jess," Lily countered softly, "including half the staff from the agency downstairs, including the freelance graphic designers, including you, when you want to make a private call." Jessica stiffened. "Excuse me? I see you there sometimes," Lily said, looking down at her shoes. "When you're arguing with your boyfriend, you use their Wi-Fi Because the cell reception in here is bad. It was a risky parry. Lily was signaling, I know things about your personal life. Arthur waved his hand dismissively. Enough! I don't care about the Wi-Fi. I care about the Packard account. We are bleeding, people. Bleeding. He stood up and walked to the window, staring out at the gray skyline. Jessica, fire her. I don't need the risk. With pleasure, Jessica smiled. Wait, Lily said. The word came out sharper than she intended. She cleared her throat and softened it. Mr. Sterling, the gala is Saturday. Arthur didn't turn around. So, the printing vendor for the Packard pitch deck quit this morning. They said the invoices haven't been paid in 3 months. Arthur froze. His shoulders tensed. I know how to run the industrial binding machine in the copy room, Lily continued. I know how to collate the 500-page historical addendum Packard requested. And I know that if you hire a temp agency to do it over the weekend, they will charge you emergency rates. Triple time. She let the silence hang in the air. She knew Arthur was liquidity poor. He was leveraging everything to keep up appearances. He couldn't afford triple time. Arthur turned around slowly. He looked at Jessica, then at Lily. She has a point. We need the decks, and we need someone to manage the coat check and the gift bags at the Pierre. The temp agency sent us thieves last time. Arthur, you can't be serious, Jessica gasped. She's a security risk. She's cheap labor, Arthur shouted, his patience snapping. And right now, Jessica, cheap labor is the only kind I can afford until we close this deal. Keep her, but watch her. If she so much as looks at a computer wrong, call the police. He pointed a finger at Lily. You're on probation. You work the gala. You collate the decks. And if you screw this up, I will make sure you never work in this town again. Not even at a McDonald's. Yes, sir, Lily whispered. Get out. Lily turned and walked out. As she passed Jessica, the office manager leaned in, her voice a low hiss. You might have fooled him, Jessica whispered, smelling of expensive vanilla and malice. But you didn't fool me. You're up to something. And at the gala, I'm going to make you wish you had just been fired. Lily didn't look up. She just kept walking. Back at her desk in the supply closet, she shut the door and leaned against it, exhaling a long, shaky breath. Her hands were sweating. She pulled out the Virtu phone. Recipient, Security Chief, Vanderhoven Global. Subject, the Pierre Hotel, Saturday. Clear the perimeter. I need a visual on Arthur Sterling's interactions with the Packard representatives. I will be on the floor. Do not acknowledge me. She hit send. The game was entering the final quarter. Arthur was desperate, and desperate men made mistakes. She just had to be there to catch the falling knife. The grand ballroom of the Pierre Hotel was a masterclass in opulence. Crystal chandeliers the size of small cars dripped light onto a sea of tuxedos and designer gowns. The air smelled of expensive flowers, white hydrangeas and orchids, and the heavy, savory scent of lobster thermidor. This was the Titans of Industry Gala. The entry ticket cost $10,000. For the staff of Sterling Media, however, the price of admission was their dignity. Arthur had insisted the entire team attend to support the brand, which really meant acting as glorified servants to the Packard executives. The creative team, usually cool and aloof, looked awkward in ill-fitting rental tuxedos. And then there was Lily. Jessica had assigned Lily her costume personally. While the rest of the female staff were allowed to wear cocktail dresses, Jessica had handed Lily a severe black uniform, black slacks, a buttoned-up black shirt, and a black apron. You're the runner, Jessica had said with a smirk, handing her the clothes in a plastic bag. If a client needs a drink, you run. If Arthur sweats through his shirt, you run and get him a fresh one. You are not a guest, Lily. You are the help. Don't forget it. So, Lily stood by a pillar near the kitchen entrance, holding a silver tray of champagne flutes, invisible in plain sight. She adjusted her glasses. The uniform was humiliating, but it was also perfect camouflage. No one looked at the help. The room was buzzing. A string quartet played a sanitized version of a pop song in the corner. Champagne? Lily asked softly, as a heavy-set man in a velvet jacket walked by. "No, get me a scotch." "Neat," the man grunted without looking at her face. "Right away, sir." Lily moved through the crowd, her eyes scanning. She spotted Arthur near the center of the room. He was laughing too loudly, clutching a glass of wine, trying to corner the VP of marketing for Packard, a stern woman named Eleanor Vance. Arthur looked manic. He was pitching. Here, at a charity gala, he was pitching. It was tacky. It was desperate. "Arthur, please," Eleanor was saying, looking for an exit. "This is a social event. We can discuss the metrics on Monday." "But the synergy, Eleanor. Think about the synergy," Arthur pressed, blocking her path. Lily winced. It was painful to watch. Then the room shifted. It wasn't a sound. It was a change in atmospheric pressure. The chatter didn't stop, but it lowered, turning into a respectful, hushed murmur. Heads turned toward the main double doors. Willem van der Hoven had arrived. Lily's father walked in like he owned the building, which, through a subsidiary shell company, he actually might have. He was a tall man, with silver hair and eyes that could cut glass. He wore a tuxedo that fit so perfectly it looked like a second skin. He didn't smile. He didn't wave. He just walked, and the crowd parted like the Red Sea. Flanking him were two security guards Lily knew by name, Mike and Thomas. They scanned the room, professional and detached. Lily felt a sudden, sharp pang in her chest. She hadn't seen her father in 4 months. He looked tired. The acquisition rumors were taking a toll on him, too. She shrank back into the shadow of the pillar. If he saw her in this apron, if he saw his daughter, the heir to a billion-dollar empire, serving cheap champagne to a mid-tier marketing scammer, he would burn the building down. "Look at him," a voice whispered beside her. Lily jumped. It was Liam. He was standing next to her, looking dashing in a dark navy tuxedo that he actually owned. He held a drink, but wasn't drinking it. "Willem van der Hoven," Liam said, watching the Titan move through the crowd. "The man who eats companies for breakfast. Legend has it he fired his own brother for being 5 minutes late to a board meeting." He seems intense," Lily said, gripping her tray tighter. "He's royalty," Liam corrected. "Real power, not like Arthur." Liam nodded toward their boss, who was now practically vibrating with excitement at the sight of Willem. "Watch Arthur. He's going to try to talk to him. It's going to be a car crash." Sure enough, Arthur straightened his tie, slicked back his hair, and began to make a beeline for Willem. This was Arthur's Hail Mary. If he could get a photo with van der Hoven, or even a handshake, it would validate him to the Packard execs. "Mr. van der Hoven?" Arthur called out, his voice cracking slightly. Willem paused. He turned slowly. His gaze landed on Arthur like a spotlight on a bug. "I'm Arthur Sterling, CEO of Sterling Media. We're doing big things in the digital space." "Big things." Arthur extended a hand. Willem looked at the hand. He didn't take it. "Sterling," Willem said. His voice was deep, gravelly. "I've seen your financials. You run a very creative balance sheet." The insult was subtle, but to anyone in finance, it was a decapitation. Arthur's smile faltered. Well, creativity is our business." "Excuse me," Willem said, brushing past him. Arthur stood there, hand still extended, frozen in public humiliation. Lily felt a strange mix of pity and satisfaction. But her attention was snapped away by Jessica, who materialized out of the crowd, grabbing Lily's arm with a grip that bruised. "What are you doing standing around talking to Liam?" Jessica hissed. "Table 4 needs water, now." "I'm going," Lily said, pulling her arm away. "And fix your apron," Jessica sneered. "You look like a slob." "God, I can't wait until Monday, so we can finally get rid of you." Lily turned to head toward the kitchen, but as she did, she collided with a waiter coming out. A tray of hors d'oeuvres, specifically, mini crab cakes with remoulade sauce, went flying. Time seemed to slow down. The tray flipped. The sauce arced through the air and landed directly on the front of Jessica's pale silver silk gown. The gasp from the nearby crowd was audible. Jessica looked down. A massive, greasy orange stain was blooming across her chest, She looked up at Lily, her eyes wide with shock that quickly curdled into pure, unadulterated rage. You clumsy little idiot, Jessica shrieked. The sound cut through the ambient noise of the gala. The string quartet stopped playing. It was an accident, Lily stammered, grabbing a napkin. I'm so sorry, Don't touch me, Jessica slapped Lily's hand away. You did that on purpose. You're jealous. You're a pathetic, jealous nobody. Jessica was losing it. The veneer of sophistication was gone. Look at you. You're trash. You belong in the garbage, with the rest of the refuse. The room was silent. Everyone was watching. Arthur was watching, horrified. The Packard executives were watching, and Willem Vanderhoven was watching. Lily saw her father stop. He turned fully toward the commotion. His eyes locked onto Lily. For a second, his expression shifted from stone-cold indifference to a flash of paternal fury. He took a step forward. Lily's eyes widened. She gave him a microscopic shake of her head. No, not yet. Don't blow my cover. Willem hesitated. He clenched his jaw, the muscles working visibly. He respected the game, but watching his daughter be berated by a woman wearing a dress that cost less than his cufflinks was testing his resolve. Liam stepped in. That's enough, Jessica, Liam said, his voice hard. He moved between Lily and Jessica. It was an accident. Go clean up. You're making a scene. She ruined my dress, Jessica screamed, tears of rage streaking her makeup. You're ruining your reputation, Liam countered coldly. Go to the restroom. Jessica looked around, realizing the entire room was staring at her with distaste. She let out a choked sob of fury and stormed off toward the ladies' room. Liam turned to Lily. He took the napkin from her hand. Are you okay? I'm fine, Lily said, though her voice was shaking. I should go to the kitchen. Lily, Liam said, lowering his voice. Did you see that? See what? Vanderhoven, Liam whispered. When Jessica screamed at you, he looked ready to kill her. He took a step toward you. Lily froze. Liam was too observant. Why would the richest man in the world care if a waitress gets yelled at? Liam asked, his blue eyes searching hers. Unless he knows her. He's just a decent man, Liam, Lily lied, pulling away. Unlike the men in this company, she fled to the kitchen. Her heart was pounding against her ribs like a trapped bird. That was too close. Inside the kitchen, amidst the chaos of chefs plating filet mignon, Lily leaned against the stainless steel counter. She checked her Virtu phone. New message from the ghost forensic accountant. We got him. I tracked the Cayman transfer. Arthur moved $250,000 of the Packard retainer 5 minutes ago. He's doing it from his phone at the party. He's desperate to cover a margin call. Lily looked up. The evidence was secured. The trap was sprung. She didn't need to be Lily the waitress anymore, but she had one more thing to do. She needed to make sure the Packard account didn't sign the final contract tonight. She straightened her apron. She wiped a smudge of crab sauce off her sleeve. Hey, you! The head chef shouted. Table 6 needs wine. Move. Lily grabbed a bottle of vintage Bordeaux. Yes, chef. She walked back out into the ballroom, but she wasn't walking to table 6. She was walking toward the Packard table, where Arthur Sterling was currently holding a pen, trying to get Eleanor Vance to sign a document on a cocktail napkin. It was time to spill more than just crab cakes. The air around table 4 was thick enough to choke on. Arthur Sterling had cornered Eleanor Vance, the Packard VP, between the centerpiece and a breadbasket. He was leaning in, his face flushed with a mixture of alcohol and desperation, a Mont Blanc pen hovering over a cocktail napkin that had been smoothed out to resemble a binding contract. It's just a letter of intent, Eleanor, Arthur was saying, his voice a little too loud, a little too slick. Just to lock in the rates before Monday. You know how the market fluctuates. If we wait, the media buy costs go up 20%. Eleanor looked uncomfortable. She was a woman of structure, of boardrooms and legal counsel, not napkin deals at charity galas. Arthur, I really don't think this is the place. The place is where the magic happens. Arthur laughed, a sound that grated like sandpaper. Just a signature. Right here. Lily approached the table. She held the bottle of Bordeaux in one hand, wrapped in a white linen napkin. She moved with the silence of someone who had spent her life being overlooked. "More wine, Mr. Sterling?" she asked softly. Arthur jumped, nearly dropping his pen. He glared at her. "Not now, Lily. Go away." "I believe Miss Vance's glass is empty," Lily persisted. She stepped forward, effectively blocking Arthur's arm from the napkin. She poured a splash of the dark red liquid into Eleanor's glass. "Thank you," Eleanor murmured, looking relieved for the interruption. "It's a 2015 Chateau Margaux," Lily said, her voice dropping to a conversational volume that excluded Arthur. "Excellent year, though I believe the soil acidity that year was higher than average, similar to how the overhead costs in a media buy are often inflated, if not audited correctly." Eleanor froze. She looked up at the waitress. Lily's face was blank, her eyes hidden behind the thick glasses, but her words were precise. Arthur's head snapped up. "What did you say?" Lily didn't look at him. She continued pouring. "I was just saying, Miss Vance, that sometimes things appear full-bodied on the surface, but the finish can be hollow, like a shell company." The color drained from Arthur's face. "Excuse me?" Eleanor set her glass down. She turned to Arthur. "Arthur, what is she talking about?" "She's drunk," Arthur hissed, standing up. He grabbed Lily's arm, his fingers digging into her bicep, hard enough to bruise. "She's a disgruntled employee. She's crazy." "Am I?" Lily asked. She didn't pull away. She looked Arthur dead in the eye. "Miss Vance, before you sign that napkin, you might want to ask Mr. Sterling why the media buy rates," he's quoting, "you are 30% higher than the industry standard, or why the vendor listed on the contract Obsidian Digital is registered to a P.O. box in the Cayman Islands that was opened last Tuesday." The silence at the table was absolute. The ambient noise of the gala seemed to fade away. Arthur's grip tightened. He was shaking. "You shut your mouth. You shut your mouth right now. Get your hands off her, Arthur." Liam Archer appeared out of the crowd. He didn't shout, but his voice carried a quiet menace that made Arthur flinch. Liam stepped up to the table, his eyes locked on Arthur's hand on Lily's arm. "Let her go," Liam said. Arthur released her, shoving her slightly. "She's fired. You hear me? You're done. Get out of this hotel. Get out of my company." Lily stumbled back, catching her balance. She straightened her apron. She didn't look scared anymore. She looked bored. "I'm leaving, Arthur," Lily said calmly. She turned to Eleanor Vance. "Don't sign the napkin, Miss Vance, and check the IP logs on your digital audit. You'll find something interesting." "Security!" Arthur screamed, waving frantically at the perimeter guards. "Remove this woman. She's harassing the guests." Two large men in earpieces started moving toward them. Liam stepped in front of Lily. "Don't touch her." "It's okay, Liam," Lily said, placing a hand on his shoulder. Her touch was light, but it stopped him. "I can walk out on my own." She looked at Arthur one last time. It wasn't a look of defeat. It was the look a judge gives a defendant before reading the sentence. "You're making a mistake, Arthur," she said. "A very expensive one." She turned and walked away, weaving through the stunned crowd. Jessica was just coming back from the bathroom, her dress still stained, her face puffy from crying. She saw Lily being followed by security. "Finally!" Jessica shrieked, pointing a manicured finger. "Trash takes itself out." Lily didn't stop. She walked past the chocolate fountains, past the ice sculptures, and out the double doors. Liam watched her go. He looked at Arthur, who was now sweating profusely, trying to laugh it off to a stony-faced Eleanor Vance. Just the help," Arthur stammered. "Hard to find good people these days." Eleanor stood up. She picked up her clutch. "I think I'm going to go, Arthur, and I'll be initiating a third-party audit of your proposal first thing Monday morning." "But the synergy," Arthur pleaded. Eleanor walked away. Liam looked down at the cocktail napkin. He picked it up. He saw the name of the vendor Lily had mentioned, Obsidian Digital. He pulled out his phone and did a quick search. It didn't exist. Lily was right. And then he remembered something. The wine. The Chateau Margaux. It wasn't on the menu. The gala was serving a generic California blend, Lily must have requested that bottle specifically from the cellar. A waiter didn't have the authority to do that. Only a VIP did. Liam looked at the swinging doors where Lily had vanished. The pieces were clicking together, and the picture they formed was terrifying. Monday morning at Sterling Media felt like a funeral. The rain battered the floor-to-ceiling windows of the 14th floor, turning the New York skyline into a smear of gray watercolor. The Titans of Industry Gala had been a disaster. Rumors were flying that Packard had pulled the account entirely. Arthur hadn't come out of his office all morning. The blinds were drawn. In the open-plan office, the mood was toxic. Jessica Montgomery was on a rampage. She was trying to regain control, barking orders about coffee filters and printer paper, her voice shrill and brittle. "And where's the temp?" Jessica shouted, looking at Lily's empty desk in the supply closet. "I want her personal items in a box and on the curb in 10 minutes. If she shows up to collect them, call the police." "I'm here, Jessica." The voice came from the elevators. The entire office turned. Lily stood there, but she wasn't wearing the cardigan. She wasn't wearing the taped-up glasses. She was wearing a trench coat that was belted tightly at the waist and black stilettos that clicked sharply against the tile. Her hair, usually pulled back in a frizzy bun, was down, cascading in sleek, blown-out waves over her shoulders. She wasn't holding a tray of coffee. She was holding a single, manila envelope. Jessica blinked. For a second, she didn't recognize her. Then, the sneer returned. "You have a lot of nerve showing your face here." Jessica marched over, arms crossed. "Arthur fired you. You are trespassing." "I'm just here to drop something off," Lily said coolly. She walked past Jessica, heading straight for Arthur's office. "Hey, you can't go in there." Jessica grabbed Lily's shoulder. Lily stopped. She didn't flinch. She just looked down at Jessica's hand on her trench coat. The material was vicuña wool, the most expensive fabric in the world. "Remove your hand, Jessica," Lily said. Her voice was low, but it carried the weight of a sledgehammer. "Or I will have you removed for assault." Jessica recoiled, as if she'd been burned. There was something in Lily's eyes, a cold, aristocratic authority that Jessica had never seen before. Lily continued walking. The office was dead silent. Chloe stopped typing. Liam stood up at his desk, watching. Lily reached Arthur's glass door. She didn't knock. She pushed it open. Arthur was slumped at his desk, head in his hands. He looked up, his eyes bloodshot. "I told you to get out," he roared, slamming his fist on the desk. Lily walked up to the desk and dropped the manila envelope in front of him. It landed with a heavy thud. "What is this?" Arthur demanded. "The acquisition papers," Lily said. Arthur laughed, a harsh, barking sound. "Acquisition? From who? You? With what money? Your tips from the gala? Open it." Arthur stared at her. Something in her posture made him hesitate. He reached out and tore open the envelope. He pulled out the document. The header was embossed in gold leaf. Van der Hoven, Global Holdings. Arthur's eyes went wide. He scanned the document. His hands started to shake. This is a hostile takeover notice," Arthur whispered. "Buying 51% of Sterling Media, effective immediately." "Actually," Lily corrected, "it's already done. The board approved the sale at 9 a.m. this morning. You were too busy hiding in here to check your email." "But, Van der Hoven," Arthur looked up, confusion warring with fear. "Why would he send his coffee girl to deliver this?" "He didn't send his coffee girl," Lily said. She reached up and took off her glasses, the fake ones, with the window pane lenses. She set them on his desk. "He sent his daughter." Arthur's mouth fell open. You're Serafina Van der Hoven," she finished, "and you're sitting in my chair." The silence in the office was broken by a sound, a low, rhythmic thumping that vibrated through the floorboards. It grew louder, a mechanical roaring that shook the glass panes of the windows. Thwup, 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 thwup. Shadows flickered across the office. "What the hell is that?" Jessica screamed, looking at the windows. Everyone rushed to the glass. Outside, hovering level with the 14th floor, was a helicopter. But not just any helicopter. It was a sleek, matte black Augusta Westland AW-139. The side door was emblazoned with a gold crest, a lion rampant holding a globe, the Vanderhoven family crest. The helicopter banked, the downdraft sending ripples across the puddles on the roof of the adjacent building. It maneuvered gracefully toward the building's private helipad, a pad that Arthur had never used because he couldn't afford a chopper. The office staff watched in awe. Is that for us? Chloe whispered. No, Liam said, his voice filled with a dawning realization. He turned to look at Lily. It's for her. Inside the office, Arthur was paralyzed. But the insults, the coffee, the trash. Due diligence, Arthur, Serafina said, leaning over the desk. My father taught me to inspect the foundation before buying the house. And this house? It's infested with termites. She straightened up and buttoned her coat. Pack your things. Security will escort you out. You too, Jessica. She turned and walked out of the office. The main floor was chaos. People were staring at the helicopter, landing outside, then back at the girl who used to clean the microwave. Jessica stood in the middle of the aisle, her face pale. Lily? What's going on? Serafina stopped. She looked at Jessica. It's Serafina. And Jessica, you were right about the Birkin bag. It was fake. But don't worry. With your severance package, you might be able to afford a real wallet. Maybe. She walked past Jessica, who stood frozen, mouth agape. Serafina reached the elevators, but she didn't press the down button. She pressed the button for the roof. Liam stepped forward. Lily, Serafina. She paused and turned to him. The hardness in her eyes softened just a fraction. You knew, she said. Or you suspected. I knew you weren't who you said you were, Liam said. He looked at the helicopter, then back at her. So, what happens now? You fire all of us? I'm keeping the creative team, Serafina said. You're talented, Liam. You just had bad leadership. I'm making you creative director, effective immediately. Liam was stunned. Thank you. Don't thank me yet, she smirked. I expect the Packard pitch on my desk by tomorrow morning. And Liam? Yeah? Use the Ian knot on your dress shoes next time. It saves 3 seconds. The elevator doors opened. She stepped inside. As the doors closed, she saw the stunned faces of the people who had tormented her for months. She rode the elevator up to the roof. The wind was howling, whipping her hair around her face. The Augusta Westland sat on the pad, rotors spinning, a beast of engineering waiting for its master. The side door slid open. A pilot in a flight suit stepped out and bowed his head. Miss Vanderhoven, your father is waiting in the Hamptons. Let's go, James, she said. She climbed onto the leather step. She didn't look back at the office window. She didn't need to. She knew exactly what they were seeing. They were seeing a nobody turn into a titan. As the helicopter lifted off, banking sharply over the Hudson River, Serafina pulled out her Virtu phone. To Father, it's done. Sterling is ours, and I fired the termites. From Father, good girl. Now, come home. We have a company to run. She leaned back in the seat, watching the city shrink beneath her. The drama wasn't over. In fact, with the Vanderhoven Empire now under her command, it was just beginning. As the Augusta Westland AW-139 banked over the East River, climbing to 2,000 feet, Serafina Vanderhoven finally exhaled. The tension of the last 3 months, the slouching, the silence, the biting of her tongue, while lesser minds made catastrophic mistakes, evaporated in the conditioned air of the cabin. She unbuckled her seatbelt and moved to the window. Down below, the Sterling Media Tower was just a needle in a haystack of steel and glass. It looked insignificant, but inside that building, a revolution was happening. Back on the 14th floor, the silence was absolute. The remaining employees were pressed against the glass, watching the black helicopter disappear into the clouds. She was a billionaire, Chloe whispered, her phone slipping from her hand, and I asked her to plunge the toilet. We all did, Liam said, his voice steady. He turned away from the window. He looked at the empty desk where Arthur used to sit. Then he looked at the supply closet where Serafina had worked. The door to the closet was open. Inside, neatly stacked on the wobbly IKEA desk, were 3 binders. Liam walked over and picked up the top one. It was labeled Sterling Media, Optimization Strategy, and Packard Acquisition Roadmap. She hadn't just been cleaning, she had been fixing the company from the inside out, night after night, while they all ignored her. Liam felt a heavy knot of shame in his gut, but it was quickly replaced by determination. She had left him the keys to the kingdom. He wasn't going to waste them. Suddenly, the elevator chimed. 2 burly security guards from the building lobby stepped out, holding a cardboard box. They walked straight to Jessica Montgomery. "Miss Montgomery," the lead guard said, his face impassive, "we've been instructed to escort you from the premises. Your access card has been deactivated." Jessica stood there, clutching her fake Birkin bag, her face a mask of ruined mascara and disbelief. "You can't do this! I am the office manager. I run this place." "Not anymore," Liam said. He stood in the center of the room, holding Serafina's binder. "Arthur is gone, Jessica. The Vanderhoven Group owns the building now, and per the new owner's instructions." Liam checked a sticky note on the front of the binder. "You are redundant overhead." The entire office watched as Jessica, the tyrant who had terrorized them for years, was marched to the elevator. She looked small. She looked ordinary. As the doors slid shut on her screaming face, a collective sigh of relief swept through the room. High above the city, Serafina accepted a glass of sparkling water from the steward. She pulled out her phone and opened the camera roll. She scrolled past the photos of her luxury vacations, past the photos of her horses, and stopped on a blurry selfie she had taken in the supply closet 3 months ago. In the photo, she looked tired, wearing that awful gray cardigan. She hit delete. "Miss Vanderhoven," the pilot's voice crackled over the intercom. "ETA to the Hamptons estate is 20 minutes. Your father asks if you want to stop at the stables first." "No, James," Serafina said, looking out at the horizon where the sun was breaking through the storm clouds. "Take me straight to the boardroom. We have a merger to finalize." She set the phone down. Lily Jenkins was dead. Long live the Queen. The helicopter surged forward, cutting through the sky, carrying the girl who was never really a nobody. She was just waiting for the right moment to remind the world exactly who she was. Wow, talk about a glow-up. From the supply closet to the boardroom in a single helicopter ride. It really goes to show you never truly know who you're talking to. Arthur and Jessica learned the hard way that treating people with kindness isn't just the right thing to do. It's also a good business strategy, because that nobody pouring your coffee might just be the one signing your paycheck tomorrow. I hope you enjoyed this story of revenge, redemption, and secret identities. If you did, please smash that like button. It really helps the channel grow. And if you want to see more stories like this, hit subscribe and ring the bell so you never miss an upload. If you were in Serafina's shoes, would you have promoted Liam, or would you have fired everyone and started fresh? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next story.